Thinking about converting a camper van but not sure where to start? I've been through the process twice now and I'm here to share what's actually worth doing and what's not, so you can save time, money and hassle, so let's get into it.
Hello and welcome back to Wild Free Van C. If you're new to the channel, my name is Adam and today we're going to make this video all about comparing living in a van to living in the real world, paying a mortgage versus paying for your fuel. So I've broke down the prices of what it costs us to live in the van for a month. So I've done the same for the house also. So we're going to start off with the van, how much it costs to live on the road. So for 1 month of living in a van we spent about £560 on fuel, and then we had to get a ferry to travel over to France. That cost us £185 with the dogs and the size of the van obviously. That can be cheaper if you're travelling without any pets. Then also when in France there are toll roads which you have to pay for when you're travelling on them. Now you can get away with not paying that much. We did avoid some toll roads in places that we could, but if you want to get somewhere faster, sometimes it's the fastest way, and it might be weighing up the difference in paying for more fuel to travel longer, but that is a way around it. Then we've got food. We spent about £450 on food. With us being plant-based, we don't buy meat, so that could have been more expensive if we were still eating meat. But yeah, about 450 quid we spent on food. Then eating out and doing touristy stuff, like obviously you're gonna do that. You wanna, if you're travelling around, you want to see the sights. So we spent about £270 on eating out and doing any touristy things that we wanted to do really. Obviously there is taxing and insuring your vehicle. We like to pay for that as a one-off for the year, but breaking it down, dividing it over the 12 months, that would be a monthly cost of £164 for insurance and tax. And then your subscriptions, because who doesn't love a Netflix and chill? You've got your Netflix, Amazon, any of your Disney Plus. We spend about £18 a month on that. And then also the final thing that we were spending on when we were travelling around in the van was airs, campsites and laundry. Now surprisingly we didn't spend that much on that. We spent about £80, and that is for airs were relatively cheap. If we were staying in airs we weren't spending any more than say 10-15 euros. And then there's the laundrettes where we'd only be spending a few euros there just cleaning our clothes. Relatively we managed to keep that cost down. So we've got a total cost of living in a van sitting at £1,942 for a month. So that's how much it costs us to live in the van. Now we probably could have kept the costs down if we cancelled some subscriptions, maybe didn't go on the toll roads as much, but we were enjoying ourselves. We didn't want to miss out on doing anything we wanted to do, but still it's going to be cheaper than living in a house in England, because I've broken down the price for you for that one. Now the price of living in England can vary depending on what part of the country you are in. I'm living in a town called Whitby in North Yorkshire, and this is how much we were spending to live in our house for the month. The mortgage payments were £1,010 a month. Insurance and council tax totalled £278 a month. Household bills, gas, electric, water, £560 a month. Food was about the same. We were spending about £450 on food. We'd obviously eat out during the course of that month, so we'd say about £200 on that. And then the subscriptions will be the same as they were in the van. We're spending about £18 a month on subscriptions. Now that is a total of £2,516. Now there's not really any way we can bring the costs down on that. That is just living in a house in England which was a 3-bedroom semi-detached. Now it was a lovely house, but the reality is there is a saving of over £500 a month of living in the van, and that could even increase if you're a bit more savvier on the road. So that is over £500 we could save from living in our van to living in our house. And beyond the cost, the freedom is priceless. Living in a van gives you a real sense of freedom. You're not tied to one place. If you don't like where you are, you just pick up and leave. It's as simple as that. But when you're buying a house, you're essentially locking in, paying for a building that technically belongs to the bank until you've paid back nearly double what you've lent off them in order to buy the property. Now I just want to read out some of these stats for you. In the 1980s, the average UK house price was £19,272 for a house, your average house. In the 90s that jumped to £59,587 for the average UK house. Today the average house costs £239,927. Now these are averages. Now that's a staggering 1,145% increase in property value in England alone in the past 4 decades. So you wonder why young people can't afford houses anymore. It's because they've quadrupled in price since the 90s. So it's no surprise that more young people are looking for alternative ways of living their lives, because the standard getting a job, getting a mortgage, it's just not even feasible anymore for most people. So you can understand why more and more people are looking for ways of living an alternative life, moving on the road, living in a van. It sounds like the dream, doesn't it? You don't get a mortgage, you live on the road, everything's sweet, but also that doesn't come without its challenges, especially if you're from the UK. For example, in England it is illegal to stay on a plot of land for longer than 28 days, even campsites. Now there are ways and means around this. You can work for landowners in exchange for them letting you be accommodated on their land. I will put a link below for a website which you can use in order to find landowners that are willing to let you stay on the land, but even they'll have a limit. You could even think, right, well, why don't we just look into buying a plot of land and we'll pull up there. We've already looked into it. The law still applies. Even if you own the plot of land, if you're staying on that land for longer than 28 days, you will be fined. So there's not much freedom in Britain anymore. As someone who voted against Brexit, I have definitely felt the impact. As an English lad on the road, van life has become a lot tougher. With the new 80-90 rule, only being allowed into Europe for 90 days over a 180-day period, restricts obviously where you can travel to, for how long you can travel. There is the Schengen shuffle, ways round it, where you can nip over to Morocco and that. You can still be fined for staying in Europe longer than 90 days over that 180-day period, so it still makes it more difficult to travel. Also, one of the worst parts about not being part of Europe is you can't really pick up any work when you're on the road anymore. There's no just topping up the travel funds at a local bar, and it's just, unfortunately, that's not the way things work. I will say this, if you have got a grandparent that is Irish, do what you can to get that Irish passport, because it's not great at the minute. So that's the only issue, really. It is getting more difficult and there's less loopholes for you. But I will say this, with it being harder for us to travel around Europe, take the opportunity to visit Scotland, because Scotland is a beautiful country and you're allowed to wild camp, which is, I think that should be legal everywhere, as it's no harm. If anything, it brings more tourism to an area. It means more people will be going to visit that place and spend money in the local shops and cafes. But let's be real, van life isn't always easy. There are them cold mornings, them loud nights, them moments where you're questioning everything you're even doing. But for me, it does beat being stuck in a mortgage for 30 years, paying for a property in a place that you might not even love. If you're chasing that kind of freedom, or you're just sick of where you're supposed to be, drop a comment below and let me know what you do. Life on the road, or moving to a home? Or is it just not for you? Catch you next time.